All right, I'm here with my man Ronnie. I call you Ronnie, by the way. It says Ron Blanchet up there. Do you go
Nah,
by
nah, dude. Nah,
Ron?
ever since I got into like Bobby Darin and I was like Bobby, so like Ronnie's cool. And so I
Yeah,
kind of stuck with it.
it has a nice softness to it. Playful. It's playful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
exactly. Instead of just Ron. you know?
yeah. So, gosh, how long is it since we met? Like, well, I know when we met in person was when I was with Lurie.
Yeah.
That was a couple years ago, right? 2 years
hmm
ago. Yeah,
I want to say it was 2 years ago.
yeah, because it
But
wasn't last year. Yeah, because last year I only saw you just in December,
yeah.
right?
hmm
Okay. So here I am. Yeah, you're a Patreon patron. We become friends. We've had a lot of talk about faith and spirituality and less about music. So it's it,
yeah, it is like that, dude, because it's foundational to it. So, yeah.
what's the name of that program one more time?
So the program's name is All Around Artist.
Okay, now we'll get to that. We have a believe it or not, everybody watching, we have an order. So I'm just gonna let you go riff off of that order. Welcome to this video, Ronnie. But by the way, bro, you're an incredible harmonica player. Really, really,
Uh,
yeah, really,
I
really.
don't know about that, dude, but I did like learn from you. Like, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like I was like kind of in a blues band. It was like a blues funk band. I did tell you. And so in order to like stay in the band, I looked at your videos, Adam Gusso's videos, Ronnie Shellist, and basically learned how to play and also teach my students as much as I could remember. But it still wasn't enough. I ended up getting kicked from that band, like the band leader, and God bless him, but he was like, come back when you're good. And so I was like, I get it, dude. And
Did
it
you
was a
come
lot of
back?
drugs. No.
I,
It's like, and it was a good thing because I started finding my style. Especially because I couldn't do like all the fast playing like you did. Like I got like the roots of like what to do, and like I can do kind of like that pentatonic stuff, but I started finding like mm, my style or whatever started developing with like a lot of tongue slapping and a lot of like rhythm playing and singing. And I didn't know that because of one of my students, and he was like, oh, like I want to play this or like I want to play that, and you should learn it. And I'm like, and so yeah, I want to get into that later, but like yeah, that ended up being my thing based off of your lesson. What was it? It was how to develop your own sound off of the triads,
yeah, yeah,
off the
yeah.
one,
I
four,
was
and
just
five.
talking about that in the newest YouTube video about how important that video is. Because we tend to put everything together, like the arpeggios, and then
hmm
forget what every note means.
hmm Yeah, and so like you really like get to build your sound from that, and I started seeing like the freedom with that, to
Mm.
a certain extent. Like I again, I want to dive deeper into that, but I wanted to like stay at least a little bit about like why I play for now. And so like it's totally the grace of God why I still do music. There's been so many times where I thought like, like I'm just gonna get a real job. I'm gonna quit, do something else. Like that seems rational. Like there's nothing else that means anything or like makes any sense about like having a music job unless
Oh,
like
I
you're
I know.
called by God in some extent, where
I
God's like, nope, you're gonna do this. But anyway, yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah. I agree. I agree that there's an anointing that and you got to be really stubborn. You got to be. But during the pandemic, I toyed with the idea pretty seriously to the point of really looking into it and uh, what would it be like to become a firefighter? And
hmm
then a few months ago, um, I thought about getting my degree in addictions in Louisiana. And you know, not quitting music, but doing some kind of consulting or something. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Yeah. And it's not like I'm completely against that, but I'll tell you what happened though. That scared me is I filled out a form for school,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my phone got blown up for like 3 months. Since then, I think it was 3 months, 4 months ago. Like I get calls all the time from schools all over the country trying to get me to enroll. Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Me
But
too,
yeah, I
dude.
get it. I get it. Music is a crazy profession. The stay in college videos are really everything you just said about God and a calling and all that in a nutshell. It's just saying, listen, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it.
Yep.
That's in layman's terms, or for the atheist, you know, that's what it
Mm-hmm.
is. Yeah.
But like, I think and yeah, I agree with all of that and saw the college stay in school or stay in college or go to college video. You know, like I don't remember points by points, but I think that I embodied it, your points. And it's kind of like what other people have said, like Andy Wilson, he said something very similar. You're gonna do it. Like if you know you're doing it, you know you're an artist. He's a great writer. One of my favorites. I actually sent you his book, Notes from the Tilt-A-Whirl. Dude, that is a mind-blowing book. And if you like
I,
C.S. Lewis, you would love him.
I
You would
do
love him.
like C.S. Lewis, but unfortunately, I don't read anymore.
No, like I listened to it. Like I've
Oh,
listened to
you
his
told me that. You told me that. I
yeah.
need to, okay, I'm going to do it. All right,
Yeah.
let's jump right in.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Okay. So you've heard me in lessons, maybe you have, talk about the difference between being nice and kind.
Yep.
Yep. So when somebody leaves, when somebody says that I don't particularly care for, sends me a YouTube video of themselves or an idea of something they're going to do. I'm going to be a professional musician or something like that. Um, and I think that person is has no chance of responding to the truth, right? That person doesn't contain the humility necessary to achieve whatever the goal is, right? I will be nice and I will say, go for it, or sounds great. Or maybe I'll even find one thing about that YouTube video that's true that I like. That's a great tone. You have great tone. And then that's the end of it. It's really the worst thing I can do to them. And in some cases, it's going to allow them to experience everything that I was going to tell them that might have been mean
Mm-hmm.
in a way worse and painful way that could cause financial ruin, marriages breaking up, children being left without a father or a mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they pursued a music career
Mm-hmm.
that they shouldn't have. All right. Or I could be kind and say, hey, listen, you got some good stuff going on. Your tone's okay, but I'm telling you what, this is just the surface of this. You're nowhere near ready to embark on a career in music. That being said, there's something for everybody, but I don't think right now's the time. And that's like the stay in college thing. You're
Mm-hmm.
either going to do it or you're not going to do it. Okay. Now they can't take that. So when we care about somebody, sometimes it's okay to disagree and to be forceful with what
Yeah.
we believe is true. That's the whole being bold thing. That's what I'm working on very, very hard.
Yeah. No, dude, as I agree, and I see it's hard. It's really hard because there's a fine line between, especially with students, with like, okay, I want to be encouraging right now, right? Or like if I'm hard on this person, I don't know how they're gonna take it. And sometimes we go for it and we screw up.
Yeah. And
And
that's why I teach for free sometimes. The reason I take scholarship students is not always altruistic. A lot of times it is. It's a lot of times it's based on money and that they don't have it. But the secondary motivation is when I'm not getting money put into the Venmo or the PayPal, I teach different.
Yeah.
And the more I teach naturally, the better I teach with the people that actually pay. Because I get used to being, and that's how I was taught. I mean, this Pat Ramsey fella here wasn't always that nice to me.
No.
But he was
I'd
always,
imagine so, dude.
no, but he was always kind, and not on the surface, in that he took the time to be upset with me and to care that I was doing something that he felt wasn't being done correctly.
It's person to person. It totally is, because like I know that there's some people I'm hard with, and like I actually kind of have to rein it in. And there are people that I'm really nice with, right? And encouraging, and I've seen like how that's affected them, and I've had to like make up for my mistakes. But I'd say most of the things I know musically are because of people that were hard on me,
Right.
like especially drummers. Like to this day, like one of the most important things to me is rhythm. Like I could care less about the notes. Notes are very important, but like if the rhythm is not like center
Yeah.
and it's not grooving, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Benny Bostrom's videos. He's like, he made a comment, Benny, if you're watching, you're really sparking that competitive edge in me, which is good. It produced that video, by the way. But Benny made a comment like, oh, this is really good to do, especially in multiple positions. Okay, Benny, let's see it. Right? Come on, play it now. Right? Play it. Right? All right.
and that
And
actually
I think I know he can. I know he can. Yeah, I just want to see it. Yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready to hear some, you know.
yeah. And what's cool too is like when you told me, when I first met you, first of all, I was like super nervous. I was like totally shaking. I remember going to the club at Long Beach and then seeing you and being like, oh, this is like happening. Like, when you see like a legend or like somebody like you are like, this dude's famous, and like when you actually see them,
Like a
like,
ping pong player. Yep, but yep, go ahead.
you know what I'm saying? So like it was like, but this is real right now. This isn't on a screen. And it was kind of like, dude. And so like when I got to meet you, my fear was, I hope that it's not true that you shouldn't meet your heroes. You know?
Yeah.
And so then but you were like, you were you. That
Yeah.
was like a big deal. And so I was like, oh, I want to play a song with Jason. I want to play like, because I'm not the best lead player. I want to play some, stuff I've worked on because my student, he wanted me to play Candyman. Um, and then I was thinking like he could do some like solos and whatever, but you remember this, right?
I just remember, I mean, the energy that I got off of you right away was incredible. Like I mean, if you were nervous, it was just because you had adequately prepared and hoped that was met with that. But I mean, bro, you were put into my life for a very, very comforting purpose to me, to me. So, I mean, I'm the one who should have been nervous meeting you, but I just didn't know. I just didn't know. But you look,
Yes. So Candyman, dude, like you put me on the spot hard. Because like I was expecting like, okay, like I'm gonna play with Jason, but you're like, nah, dude, like I'll film you. And I was like, what? So that's where I was like, dude, I did not expect that. And
I
so
should have posted it. Why didn't
I
I?
did.
Oh,
I
good.
I did, but like like I'm not like super like famous or like even like
I'll get the
moderately
chord harp
famous.
next time, and I'll back you up with the chord.
Dude, I don't know, but like talking about the harmonica, at least like with my style, like it's totally by the grace of God that I have any of it. It was because of my student Lou, who's like an advanced student of mine, and I treat advanced students like basically like fellow musicians or artists that are already doing their own stuff, not like learning techniques or whatever. So I remember playing it. Come on, baby, let me take you by the hand. Come on, sugar, let me take you by the hand. Go for me, let me be all your own candy. You candy man. Right? And so like I remember being like super thanks dude, is super nervous and like thinking, okay, all that work, we'll see it, like what happens, like hopefully I'm prepared. And like all of that work between my student and I, like it ended up paying off because like you actually liked it and I didn't know if it was good, you know just because like I liked hearing it and my student liked hearing it, but like I didn't go to school for it, but by learning from you online for like years. And so like when you said like you're good, or like you said I like your voice, that actually was like even cooler. But you're like, how you're playing is how I started sounding before I started sounding good. And I was like, whoa, dude, like that sound
Wait, wait,
like that.
wait. What? Why did I say that though? That sounds condescending.
No, but I took it as you were being kind, dude, and you were being like honest,
But
you know.
you sure it didn't say how you're playing is how I started sounding before I got my own sound? You sure I didn't say that?
I could be messing it up, but
You
like
think
how
you're
I
messing
took
it
it,
up?
I took it in a really good way because like you have to understand, like it was almost like I took my exit exam,
Yeah.
or like I was like, okay, this is like sensei and he's actually like telling me if I'm gonna pass, and like I
Oh,
felt
you
like I
passed, bro.
passed.
You passed. You passed. You passed.
But that's what I'm saying. So like that gave me confidence as like, no, like my sensei, like my teacher, he told me like you're good. And so like I could actually like be confident when I'm teaching, or I could be confident when I'm performing with the harmonica. Because for the longest time I didn't see myself as a harmonica player. And
Yeah.
then found my own voice because of your lessons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Yep.
with the
Yep.
singing and playing.
There will come a time, if it hasn't already, where you will become so entrenched in the music that you will absolutely not care what me or Adam Gusso or John Coltrane or anybody says about it. Like it might upset you, it might hurt your feelings that they don't get it, but you'll know deep down inside that what you did was real and right and correct. Doesn't mean that you can't learn from them. Okay. But it doesn't really matter. There was I said something like that in a video recently, about that subject. So that will, if that hasn't happened yet, I'm looking forward to when it does, because that's a very comforting place. The majority of the early 2000s, when I was playing a billion notes a minute, right? And everybody was saying it was too many notes, right? Now they could have been right, right? Like look, I wouldn't want to play that way, the way that I did then. Now I wouldn't. I would like to be able to play that fast when I wanted to. but
Yeah, that's something
but
else.
right, I can still play almost that fast, but not quite that good, because I traded some other things. I learned more about music, and that took up some bandwidth in my computer of a brain. So
Mhm.
I had to put some other stuff on the back burner, right, to become a more well-rounded artist. Okay, but at that same time, during that time period, I knew what I was doing was absolutely necessary, and was on point, and you couldn't tell me for a second, and you still can't tell me now that what I was playing didn't have any soul. So you could say it's too many notes, and I could say, well, to you, the problem with your statement is that it's just a statement. If you look at what's happening, I meant it. I meant it. And if I meant it, then it was just the right amount of notes at that time. Even if that's too many for you, I'm sorry that you can't hear where I was coming from at that particular time. All right. I may agree more with what you're saying now, today, but listen. Now, there were other times back then when I played too many notes, and it was just too many notes because I didn't mean it at that particular song or performance, or there was somebody I was trying to impress, okay, in the audience or on the record, that I was playing on the record and I was thinking about who was going to hear the record. So I was playing some BS. That happened a lot. Also a lot in the 2000s. That very rarely happens now. Because just like I was saying earlier, when I start to get like a little influenced by the ego or whatever, like warning signs go off, like flares get struck up in my brain and go, whoa, 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 wait a minute. What are you doing? This has never worked out for you in the past. So when I'm on stage and somebody walks into the club, Howard Levy or whatever, or right, I go, whoa, all of that happens. All of it does. Sometimes I give into it a little bit, and then I go, wait a minute. No. Don't do it. Don't do it, Jay. Right? So that's going to happen for you if it hasn't already.
So I would say, and I appreciate what you're saying. I can't say that I agree with you completely in as far as too many notes. Like, dude, this is just a side note. I still think Down at the Juke is one of the coolest freaking tunes like that I've heard on harmonica. When I heard you play that, I was like, whoa. But
yeah, but that's not as many notes as was in that was in the 90s. That's like when you get to 2000s, it's when it gets out of control.
Is that when it was? So was that Down with the Devil?
Down with the Devil is the height of that, I would say, or Rocket Number 9.
I didn't hear Rocket Number 9. That's the one yeah.
You got to get that record. That record's wild. It's wild. It's wild.
I want to hear your stuff with Joe Crown, but
you haven't heard that yet?
I haven't. Yeah.
Did I give it to you? I should have just give it to you, man.
Yeah.
What was I doing wrong? Man, I'm doing it all wrong. If I hadn't been so sick in Tarzana, man.
Dude.
Yeah, man, just go the stuff with Joe Crown. That's my first grown-up record. That's the first record that I'm really where there's almost nothing on that record that's me playing for the sake of playing harmonica. I'm playing music, and that doesn't mean that I like it all. Okay, but there's nothing wrong fundamentally.
But anyway, is going back to what you just said. What you just said is how I am with singing, to a certain extent.
Yes.
There was like a point in time where I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing singing. I just kind of take it as like this thing that everybody does because I grew up in church. And like, if you wanted to hear yourself, you had to be loud. And so like, it kind of just happened. And then for bands, for me, it was like, who wants to sing? It's like, okay, I'll do it. Or, like being in a band, like, oh, I can't sing that song, so like I got to get better. You know what I mean? And then running into like the person that like really taught me a lot about support and all this stuff. Like, I realized that a lot of the things that people said about singing were just not true. Like, and I know that's probably going to piss off a lot of people, but I would say based off of my perspective and my experience, it's just not helpful. Instead of treating the voice in a way where it's like 5 different things, treating it as like one.
Yeah.
One voice.
Yeah. Well, like when you said when you offered me some free singing lessons, my internal immediate response was I don't need to do that, right?
Right.
And then today after just hearing when you just said only you, right? When you did that, I immediately was like, "Oh, we're gonna take some vocal lessons," right?
Cool. Well, I want to
And
give
then,
you
and
one
then when
where
you sang the other thing, but look, man, but I also know that I'm on a path with my vocals now, where I'm feeling the right place to sing from,
good.
and and it's just confidence. That's all it's taken, and also trial and error. Like blowing out my voice by singing in the wrong way has taught me to find the right way because there is no voice if I don't sing from the right one because I destroyed the throat. So, but the problem is when I get the throat back, then I rely on it again, right? And then, but now I'm learning over time, just like life, right? That the to not do that damage right away, yeah, to be more mindful. Yeah, okay. All right. Should we got the second line Bo Diddley beat and we
Oh, well,
we,
it didn't do
we
that,
still haven't
but it's
gotten to the
okay.
most important part. The all right. You want to skip that? You want to skip the
Uh,
bum 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 ba-doom, bum.
Also, I did want to talk about Bo Diddley at least a little bit. So, like this whole idea of like the Bo Diddley beat is actually going off of what Howard Levy was like doing. You know what I mean? That kind of like cool pattern. He does like a variation off of what Bo Diddley does. Because like I think Bo Diddley actually goes, like where he's actually like kind of riffing it like that. You know what I mean? And like what I'm doing is like I've been expanding on like the whole tongue blocking, tongue slapping thing where I'm really trying to mimic like what a guitar player would do, like in how I'm approaching it. And then the Bo Diddley bye baby diamond ring. If that diamond ring don't shine, you gonna take it to a private eye. If that private eye can't see, he better take it the ring for me. Like doing
Yeah,
that kind
man.
of stuff,
Yeah, man.
man.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you something about that particular rhythm. You should come down here and visit. Bo Diddley is like the tip of the iceberg. That's a well, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about music, and I'm not being falsely humble. I'm telling you, I don't. And but I know that that's based on what they call a clave.
Yeah, that's what Howard said.
Okay, so look, there's all different kinds of claves rhythmically. You got 2/3 and 3/2, and I'm not even sure what all that means. Let me tell you this: every neighborhood in this city has a different version.
Yeah, dude, that's what's cool about it. Sorry,
Yep,
it gets me excited.
yep. Every neighborhood. So, Wes Starr is a drummer that I met on the road with Mark Hummel, and he told me a story. We were talking about New Orleans. He told me a story that he got a gig with Marsha Ball, who's the drummer that we had out with us is her drummer, right? When you saw me, but at this time he was this other guy, Wes was his drummer. When he got the gig, he came here a couple of weeks early to stay with her regular drummer before he went on to do something else, and he taught Wes some of the stuff. One of the things he did is gave him a shoebox with like 26 different cassette tapes in it that all had different versions of what we call that beat you did a second line. That's the so second line here in New Orleans is also a parade and a type of dancing and a party. Could be for a funeral or a wedding or a football game or a celebration. It could be anything. Okay, but really the second line is a type of rhythm, a clock. Okay, boom, bak, boom, a boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, a doom, ba. And there's a million different versions of that. Okay. And there were 26 that were decided in this by different neighborhoods, mostly based on who the tuba player was. So what was the bass player playing that in that neighborhood, the big tuba guy in that neighborhood influenced the way the drummers played that cloth.
What?
That's how deep that particular rhythm goes. So most people only think of it in terms of Bo Diddley, but if you come down here, it really goes to Mardi Gras Indian music.
Dude,
That's where it comes from. I mean, it comes from Africa and from Trinidad and Haiti and in the that whole island area, okay, and Cuba and all that. But it's African in nature. But as far as the United States is concerned, it comes primarily out of Mardi Gras Indian culture.
whoa, that is cool because I've heard it done like a couple ways. And what's so cool about that rhythm is it seems like you can just change it up. Like I know that Buddy Holly also does a variation of that.
Yeah.
And like the way that he does it, it's really cool. I'm trying to remember exactly how I was doing it, but that beat has really influenced me a lot, and I've been like going down that path for a while. So any help from you, that would be like really cool to like get into that a little more deeply.
My help for you would be, sometime for you to come here and
Dude out?
yeah.
That'd be so
And
cool.
and I'll tell you, hanging out with Kate would be better than me because she'll bring you to the Mardi Gras Indian meetups. Whereas look, bro, I'm a homebody. I've done so much traveling all over the world except for the Far East, and so often. I mean, from 1998 up until 2010, I was gone 300 days a year. Okay, so having been to prison now and then back out on the road and now finally owning a home in a city I love, I actually don't want to go out that much anymore. I really
I
don't.
can see.
Even though my favorite musicians in the world are playing on any given night, it's like pulling teeth to get me to leave the house and not sit on the porch and smoke a cigar or just watch some dumb TV.
Yeah.
And also that also plays into the fact that I'm at peace most of the time or some of the time with myself. So I really enjoy being in quiet moments where nobody's around or few people are around. But Kate, on the other hand, will drag your butt to these very sort of secret and kind of sacred, maybe white people maybe shouldn't be there, maybe should. I don't know. I don't really know. I have an answer for you. You'll definitely feel that when you get there and it goes away. I've been to some sacred Mardi Gras Indian meetups where for 30 minutes I'm like, man, I shouldn't be here. This isn't right. And then 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh my God, thank God I didn't listen to that. Right. I needed to be here. I needed to see this love and kindness and this rhythm and this music and this culture. But you should come here and experience it. I can't teach it. Listen, if you want to learn more about it, go online and research this guy, Johnny Vodakovich. So he's a white guy that grew up here. I'm putting it in the chat section. I've quoted him in some of my videos, and I've even put clips of him talking in some of my videos, not concerning the second line, but concerning swing.
Cool.
But he has numerous videos on these. We have another name for him here. It's not a second line. It's not always called that. It's called a street beat is the other thing we call it because it's played in the street, literally in the street, walking down the middle of the road in the neighborhood with a snare drum and a bass drum and somebody on a cowbell and a tambourine and all of that. So anyway, you should check it out. He explains the difference between a 2-3 clav and a 3-2 clav. And if you know more about music than me, you'll understand it. But just being around it is the thing.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. But at least talking about like where I'm coming from with harmonica and stuff, and like taking a lot of your influence. Um, I started seeing like because you liked my voice from when we played, and when you said that like my harmonica playing, you talked about my harmonica playing, and I felt like I got a pass from you, like I could keep going, you know. I was like, okay, how can I continue to do this thing? So I started to play songs that were totally like by God's providence from my advanced student that was like, "Oh, can you play this song? Like, can we learn this song? Can we do this song?" And so my style is very much based around singing and playing. Um,
Which is
like
how the old guys did it.
right, like with oh my goodness, it's been such a long time, but with Sonny Boy, the first
Perfect example.
is like his version of Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. Like when I heard that, I like lit up, dude. And
Yeah, your version of Candyman reminded me of that. Not just in structure either.
because like praise God, dude. That is super cool. Because it's not an easy thing to do. Like I think that was one of the first hurdles that I need to get over with my student was like the singing and playing approach is actually it's not so easy because it's not like you're playing guitar where you have
Right.
something consistently moving and then you're singing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to have both things going where you're like singing.
Separately and together. Yep. Because and with a guitar, it's so much easier because you can hear when you're out of tune because you're not harmonizing. So your voice will naturally just slide into that place. It'll even sound like you meant to do it. But when you don't have the chords behind you, you have to know what you're doing. You
Mhm.
have to. I played Badger the Witness last night with a guy playing a cigar box guitar. That meant no chords, only single notes. So I
Mhm.
had to know how to sing that song.
Mhm.
I had to, and I did. I did. I was confident it was that song. Now, had that song been Drifting Blues, no, I couldn't have done it without the chord there. I won't naturally go to that place, right? That I need to.
And what's tough too is like what I'm finding because you have like different kind of approaches I've discovered like with singing and playing where it's like you have the intermittent like singing and then like going back and forth with like
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
um and then you have like something that little Walter would do commonly where he would like sing for like a good portion of time on like My Babe or that sounds basic but like yeah and then he would play for like a long time
yeah.
and then he'd come back to like playing or come back to singing and that's something I noticed that you do and like you do it really well because you're a really good lead player as well but like for me is to like and I know that's not the best crutch but because like I have more of a focus on singing I really go between parts like on this Chuck Berry tune I'm trying to remember how it goes. I bought a brand new Airmobile. It was a custom made. It was a flight DeVille with a powerful motor and some hideaway wings. Pushing on the button and you will hear her singing. Now you can't catch me, baby. You can't catch me. Cause if you get too close, you know I'm gone like a cool breeze. Like something like that. It's not easy to do because you're constantly going in between playing,
Yep,
singing,
yep,
playing, singing.
yep, yep, yep.
And so you got to get the singing like down. That wasn't the best, but thank you, dude. Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
like when it comes to that, like I started seeing like, okay, like you really have to have the singing down. So like one thing that I like to teach my singing students, like at the very beginning, is just finding that anchoring point. So like making sure that you know where you're connected to in your support. Like that's a big deal. Like you hear that word thrown around where somebody's like, "Oh yeah, just use your support and whatever." It's like, well, what does that feel like? You have to explain what the sensation is like. So, like what I commonly like to do is like actually show what it looks like. So if I like take my shirt and like get it really tight, if I bring my belly forward like this, where I'm
Mhm.
actually like caving in like my back, and so my stomach is sticking out, like immediately I feel tension here.
Mhm.
If I let it go, is like, yeah, like you can still get some kind of support, but it's almost like when you do this, it's forcing the support here. And like just based on my personal
I'll remember
experiences,
that. Yep.
it really helps because what you learn to do if you're doing this is that forces your breath. It forces your breath to come in if you're
I'm
like
doing it
really
right now. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking, yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling
it,
it. Yeah.
and it just comes in through your lungs in a really like relaxed and natural way.
So, man, how do people get in touch with you that made it this far in the video? God bless you. Uh,
Yeah.
to
Oh, dude, yeah.
to take a vocal lesson from you.
They can reach me through Ronnie Blanchet 21 on YouTube. That's one way. You can also get me through email at Ronnie at
Okay.
allaroundartistllc.com.
Okay. So when I
So
post this on Patreon, be sure in the comment section that you put that. Okay.
yes, for sure.
Awesome.
And so that's one reason, but like at least all of this was graciously like brought on for you from you by the grace of God because I'm doing this course all around artists and I'm trying to put it out.
What is
Um,
it? What is it?
so the course is basically a collection of like all the things I know about music and how I learned. So when it came to singing first, then learning a melodic instrument, for me it was saxophone, but you know, this is the Mississippi saxophone.
Yep.
Um, and then I started learning guitar, moved from there to like songwriting, and then got a little heady, learned music theory, so that's piano, then putting all those things together and making your own song. And that's what the course is, really like a crash course in the basics of just understanding like what you need to know as far as
And
I'm
this,
concerned.
yep. And this is completely put together. Is it an online course?
Yes, it's an online video course, and like how I have it, at least right now, is that the course is like half off. So instead of like the $70, it's 35.
For the whole
It's
thing?
for a pre-launch course, yes.
How long does
Um,
that last? The
oh,
subscription?
it's lifetime, lifetime. So it's like it for people right now. I know that things are very expensive, and so like I
Everything.
everything is super expensive, and so like that doesn't mean that people should not learn music though, you know. And so like I want to make sure that I put that out there. And
Yeah,
um
that's how I feel about the YouTube videos. And
r-
yeah, I mean, Tomlin and Liam and those guys, Ronnie, kind of talked to me in the beginning and were like, "Hey man, like, you're kind of doing it all wrong. Like, you should give a portion of what you teach on YouTube and then put it behind a paywall. And you could do that on Patreon or on a separate website, but don't give everything away for free and then just ask for $1 or $5 on Patreon." Well, I don't know. I don't know. First of
I
all,
was yeah.
look, if I were to have taken their advice, I would have had to remove 16 years of content at that particular time. Just take it down. And then I would have had to re-record it to make it better so that it was worth the money, in my opinion. Okay, and put it up somewhere else, like newer versions of it, right? And then I would have lost the video diary of me growing and losing my opinions about things and looking back at me all angry or happy at all these different things in my life, I would have lost that. The other thing is I think that I'm probably competitively making as much or maybe more than some of them right now just with this form. Like instead of asking, 45 or 50 people that are actually willing to do that every month, maybe it's 100, I don't know what they have doing their paywall. I think by asking for $1 from 30,000 people, I have a better chance of making money long term. But I have no idea. But if I were to start again, I would do what you're doing. But it's kind of too late for me now.
Well, you're also in a really good place. Like I would say my competitive kind of edge, or at least what makes it different, is I'm also trading my time for people that do sign up for the course. So say you wouldn't do this, but like say you signed up for the course, and you went through like the singing portion and you were like, okay, lesson 2, like I'm not getting like the breath, like really it's only that much breath, not anything more, and you're actually like fighting the air, you're not like letting air go through your vocal cords. I don't get that. And so you could actually like hit me up and like do a video, and
Right.
then I would give you a personal response video in
Yeah.
answering that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I think Ronnie and Liam and those guys do that stuff too. I tried. Look, here's the thing with me. It's not about me, first of all. This is about you, but just me personally with Patreon. I give as much as I possibly can, and I still want to tour, and I still want to go out. And if I were to jump into answering every comment and everything that I would never ever have time to do the things that I want to do. Never. But anyway, okay. So the course is launched. How long has it been out?
Well, no, see, like the sale is a pre-launch course. It hasn't been launched. So when somebody signs up for the course, they're basically funding it, and the course is coming out on February 3rd, the day the music died.
My birthday.
That's your dude. What the heck? That's so cool. Because I was thinking like, and I was planning through it, I was like, God, what day?
I always thought it was funny that my birthday was the day the music died.
Yeah, because then I was like listening to something on Frankie, dang it, Ricci Valens, and like it was like, oh yeah, the Big Bopper went down on da 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 in February 3rd, and I was like, I think it was 1959, I want to say, and so I was like, dude, that's the day that like the Lord like gave me to like put it up, and so because I was praying, I'm like, what day? February 3rd was the first thing that came up.
That's
so
exciting.
I was like, dude, it was so like, yeah, that's the day that it's gonna be like put out. And Lord willing, like it will actually like I'm hoping that it really does bless people, and that they're able to get into situations where they know how to be a part of a band, where they know how to learn a song, or like all the basic stuff.
Are there things in there about booking and management? And
so that's what I wanted to talk about, because like
sorry.
what no, it's okay. So what ended up happening last year was there was a point where I decided like, okay, for me, because you've already gone through like the old school circuit where like record labels still mattered and all of that kind of stuff. Like there,
I wouldn't say they don't today. I would disagree with a lot of the kids, because you go ahead and try to do it yourself and watch how quickly the art suffers. And look at the world today. Look at the, you know what I mean? We're flooded. The world is flooded with independent right now. So much that you can't weed through and find anything, and people give up. And then that's been compounded by the fact that music has been ripped from our CD players. That our phones don't sound good, that the headphone jack has been removed, that everything is on Spotify, and that there's commercials. It's hard to listen to music now. It's not as easy as it once was, and it's the album is gone. the idea of a whole album, start to finish, an experience is gone, right? That's gone.
You're right. And so like what I was and there's a lot you're saying. So I'm going to be as wise as I could be. What I discovered, I think it was last year or the year before. I'm pretty sure it was a little while ago. I was like, I have to learn how to do film if I'm going to be like an artist today. So I found some lessons by the grace of God that actually taught filmmaking, just like smartphone filmmaking and all that kind of stuff, and learned how to edit all that. Then I learned about this same teacher. They do like course creation stuff. They teach you how to do that. And so I was like, well, that sounds like a really good idea. Well, it just so happened that recently, closer to us now, that the business that I was working for is they closed their doors. And that I was basically getting booked gigs, like teaching gigs through them. And so like it was just this total providential, like God was like,
Yeah.
this is what you're gonna
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. You were thrown into the water to swim. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the process, I started thinking like, oh, like I know how to film now, so I might as well like record myself and put it on Instagram and like, do that. Then I started finding out about advertising and learning how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And still learning. And then being like, whoa, this is expensive. So I need to like figure
Okay.
out
Okay.
how to do everything. So I learned how to record my own music,
Mm-hmm.
produce it, mix it, and like obviously like gigging. I've been gigging professionally for, I want to say, kind of since high school, but I wasn't getting paid that much.
I got it.
A
That's
lot of time I was
professional.
paying for free,
It's
playing for free.
professional. If you're getting paid at all, it's professional.
So then like later in life, I started, learning like, oh, this is like something I could teach. So I figured, okay, instead of spending all of the money I did on all the lessons that I ever did, what if I just put all of that in a course? And that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted this course to be. But then I thought, okay, I need to see if it will actually like garner attention, if people find value in it first, before I can make individual courses on each thing.
Great.
So
Great.
that's where it's at.
Now, I'll tell you just as a piece of advice. So I thoroughly believe in taking things seriously, and I think it's to your credit that you took a course on learning how to put together a course.
It sounds silly, but that's what
Oh
it
no, it
is.
does. It does not to me. It doesn't. Okay, I think it's to your credit that you learned about video and recording and all of that. I will tell you a pattern of behavior that I have observed that can be a pitfall to some people. They think they need everything to be perfect, when
Mhm.
in reality, what needs to be created is creation. It needs to happen. It doesn't have, and you will learn as you go. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with taking the course, but people find themselves in paralysis through analysis all the time. And the ones that succeed, okay, are the ones that are constantly creating, okay,
Mhm.
bombarding. Now, when I made a commitment to create a new video every single Friday, okay, no matter what, right? There were many times when it occurred to me, or when I thought, I have no idea what I can teach. There's nothing left to teach. I don't know what I'm going to do this Friday. There's always something. There, even if that something is me pushing record on the camera and going, hey guys, I don't even know if I have anything to talk about this week, but here we are. That's it.
Mhm.
All you have to think about this. What you're doing, and this goes for anybody out there, okay, is like a TV commercial. It's like a TV show. If
Yeah.
I go to tune in, for, what is it? Every Tuesday, Below Deck comes out. It's a stupid show me and my wife watch. Okay. If one Tuesday they just didn't put an episode up, I'm less likely the next Tuesday to tune in. You do 2 Tuesdays in a row, I might be gone forever. Unless you bombard it over my head. Oh, we'll never let that happen again. It's going to be every Tuesday. Here's what happened. Somebody got cancer. We had to deal with it. You know, we're sorry we didn't make an announcement. You know what I mean? And you really have to explain to me why. So people need to know that, you know, if you're in there recording a record, get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done any way that you can. Right. And then if you want, and then if something's not right about that record, on the next one, you get it a little better and a little better and a little better. Right. That's what it has to be. It has to be. So look, here's the bad part about that. A lot of stuff goes into the world. In the old days with the record label, you had to kind of be approved, right? And then so a lot of times record labels are very cautious with what they put out because they weren't just trying to make money. They were, I mean, they wanted to, but they also wanted to offer something. The label was like a team. This is our sound. These are the kinds of people. Sub Pop, Blue Note, right? There were, you know what I mean? This is what we are. This is our image. This is what our album covers look like. If you're over here, you have to kind of fit this image. Fat Possum, same thing, right? It has to be something like that. Okay. That was good. It weeded out a lot of the nonsense. On the other hand, right, there's a lot of music that never got heard because it wasn't allowed to go to press. So we have an example of it run riot, right? There's just too much. There's too many things on SoundCloud. Everybody's got an album. Everybody can do an album. And so when you say I have a record, it doesn't mean anything. All right. And then we end up putting up stuff that we, you know, like Down at the Juke, those records that I made. Sometimes I wonder, would I have had a better career had I not been able to independently produce, you know, 4 albums before Rocket Number 9?
I mean, I still like Down at the Juke, dude. Like
that's what I mean. But that's what I mean. Who am I? Who am I to even decide what's good anymore? Right? I have no idea. Some people, that's favorite stuff. I can't even believe it. I have no idea why they would think that, but that's okay.
So like this started getting me thinking because I released my first album, didn't know anything about advertising, didn't know anything about like, you know, I believed the lie that if you build it, they will come. That was like in high school, like out like just a few years after high school or so, as far as I can remember. And like I had work that I wanted to do after that. This album is called Eye Center, going off of Combustible Edison's Eye Swinger, but Eye Center, like talking about like what does it sound like to be saved, basically. Like it's basically a testimonial, but audible, I guess you could say. And I've wanted to do that record for a long time. And as I've gone through this whole like process, I started thinking like, okay, well, because of all of what you said, like, what's the best way to go about this? Like, who's the audience that I really want to write for? Who are the people I really want to reach? So with this album, I started thinking like I really want to reach unbelieving people and show them like, okay, this is what a sinner is, but do it in a way where it was like in my sin. So like this album that my plan is, and Lord willing it'll get done, is to release this album Rude, which is a collection of like punk and ska stuff that I wrote in high school. You know, and reggae and like dub kind of stuff. And then ultimately like goes and transitions to the crowd I want to talk to, which is like Christians, with another album. I know all of the like production stuff, like the beginning stuff, like very beginner. I'm not going to say like I'm super pro at like mixing or recording or what have you. I know what I know. And I think the best thing I could possibly do is just to create rather like you just said, rather than try to get it perfect. So like, are my drums going to be acoustic? No. Like I'm going to use like drum pads. Like I'm going to probably have a bass player, but we're going to like do the parts and it's going to be really quick. Lord willing, I'll have that, but I could do my own bass. I could do the guitar. I could do all of the singing, just so I put it out there, advertise it well. And if I get an audience from it, cool. But I need to promote that through Instagram. I need to do that through Facebook and like actually bring value to people. And so what I started thinking is like, what do people need right now? And I think a lot of people just need fun. And a lot of that music was fun. A lot of those ideas that I had were not super deep or whatever, but they were talking about like life and just messing up, making bad decisions, and like what happens with that, the human condition, dealing with that. And I think that, if anything, instead of doing what I want to do and like trying to actually bring value to people, I think that that album can actually reach people who want to hear it. And so that I agree with you on that. I don't think that it's ever gonna go back to the old way. So I'm trying to get used to the idea of the new way of like producing your own music, like going down the Billie Eilish kind of like direction. Because her stuff production wise sounds great. You know what I mean?
It's incredible. It's incredible.
But there are a lot of true things and a lot of grace that people experience. In the very scriptures, it says that every good, in James, it says every good and perfect gift comes from above, from the Father of lights. In him, there's no variance or any changing or shadow of turning. What that means is that every single person that has a great gift, that is from God. There are plenty of people that have great gifts, great graces. And that's why I tell people, I love your grace. I love what God gave you.
2 minutes. 2 minutes to my next lesson. I got to wrap it up. This is fun. I had an absolute blast.
Yeah, dude.
I do know I love you a lot. I know who you are, and I love you. And I'm going to post this whole thing. Oh, by the way, really quick. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.